I'm not sitting comfortably, but I must begin. A fresh year and a full moon early in January. Hope for the coming months is still within our hearts. I flick the headlights off and am immediately immersed in a drenching darkness. It seems as if my eyes will never adjust. My city, so familiar to me, is now far away. I wind down the window, hear the call of an owl, and am once again a fearful child in my nighttime bedroom, where toys become fairy tale creatures and the wardrobe a portal to another world. I consider fear a compelling force. It is time to enter the forest. In the torchlight, I see my drifting breath, masking my pungent ignorance. Around me are banks of pines and other trees I've yet to understand. Fallen trunks on beds of mulching leaves, incrementally decaying beneath creeping moss, becoming something other than a tree. Across spans of time my human brain cannot fathom. The dark begins to evaporate, and my skittish imagination is smothered by light. I must challenge my uncomprehending doubts. Birds begin their dawn songs loud and proud, reminding me of market bazaars in far-off lands, buzzing with enticing chatter I cannot translate, masking warnings with beauty. In March, it felt as if there were a curse upon this land. I had a punctured tyre, broken weather, and a fall, cutting myself, opening my body to new infection. I watched a barn owl swoop above me and around a dead tree, the barkless body rigid in twisted, startled shapes. Far below myself and the hunting bird is a distant horizon and a plain of towns and cities, yet to wake up. We enter lockdown. The world is placed into a distorting hibernation, an ill-fitting chrysalis. Visiting the forest overwhelms my thinking, and I begin to resent the city, seeing the forest as a place of sanctuary, a place to escape from humans with their infecting breath. But to travel there under restrictions makes me a fugitive. There is, I learn, a forest wisdom, a cooperative system where trees grow into one another, talk with one another, connected by threads, an underground network of pulsing fungi transmitting messages between beech, oak and sycamore. They emit a frequency akin to the key of A. I feel this place to be ancient, to be a keeper of souls, energized by moonlight. In spring, I hold the branch of an ancient sycamore, and a freakish, disturbing zephyr whirs over my shoulder, raising my hackles, bringing with it the scent of an abandoned pantry. By May, the savage grunts of rutting stags and the soft call of the duplicitous cuckoo drift up the inclines to mingle with gently swaying bluebells. I feel joyously lost, removed from my urban self, returned to a primal world of self-protecting rituals. I relish the touch of rough bark, the stroking of moss, soft as a short-haired dog, even an invasion of blood-purifying insects. I feel a curious compulsion rising like rage to capture the virus and consume it like a sin-eater, to engulf myself with fever and be done with it. In June, as I am leaving the woods after sunrise, I encounter a young couple, perhaps on their way to one of the rave parties now blighting the woods with fires and litter. The man asks me, "Are you a murderer?" Compassion seems to play little part in the ongoing existence of life in the forest. A vole, for instance, knows it can be eaten and lives accordingly. The virus has perhaps affected humans in the same way. Certainly, despite or because of a return to relative normality, I sense anxieties chomping through me like mites consuming the core of a diseased tree. I hope the forest canopy is able to absorb my tensions as if they were CO2. On entering the woods at night, I feel very alone. Pine cones fall upon my head as if thrown by defenders on a castle wall aiming to repel invaders. Also, the dark distorts distance and time appears to flow at a different pace. I come across a piece of land clogged with perished trees, piled like bodies shot where they stood, a deranged mess. Tangled brambles and bracken are woven around the sinking copse. I pick and stumble my way through, feeling, as I chase beads of golden sun across the gnarled remains, like a looter on a battlefield. A bold wren sings nearby as a bolt of sunshine fires through the trees above, and in this glorious moment a barn owl flies into this beam, lit silver by the early morning rays, a bomber caught in a searchlight, steady and measured towards its destination. I want to chase it, to soar alongside its natural wing beats, to ask if it has visited me before. I slump to the ground, breathing deeply, gulping in the pure air around me. I sense the transition within my soul, the virus, a catalyst for remarkable mutation within me and in all our lives around the world. There is so much protest against continuing injustice. I consider that maybe I ought to visit the forest without any recording devices, to simply experience being engulfed by trees, to listen intensely to the songbirds and sniff the rich aura around me, and to be my animal self, the part of me so lost in my urban life. My mind prepares for change. By October, Unbalanced by transition and unsure of where I was going or why, I searched somewhere alien, slipping and falling up a steep bank, muddied by incessant rain, equipment hindering my advance. My nostrils scraped the moss, becoming filled with a delicious earthy scent, triggering a desire to burrow deeper, hidden away from the recent reimposition of restrictions. My search for equilibrium later provoked my partner to escort me to the forest, and we arrived at a ruined hut by an old sycamore, whose branches bent up into the sky like an elephant's trunk when calling its herd. Perhaps this was the heart of the forest. As the first note chimed from the crystal bowl she'd brought along, a flittering breeze rifled through the canopy, and the hidden moon emerged from the clouds like a queen, curiously coming to her palace balcony to observe the commotion below. As the mellowing sound ceased, so the moon became once again cocooned in grey mist. I felt euphoric, my subconscious conjoined with the pulsing roots beneath my boots, like I truly understood the forest for the first time. It was time to move on. In early December, I stood on a hill overlooking the forest, watching distant cars in the darkening dusk, their tail lights swirling and curling back and forth, reminding me of a hive. The moon had risen, resplendent in the late afternoon sky, guiding my gaze towards a gatepost on which sat a tawny owl, indifferent to my presence. I will never again, in my lifetime, experience a year like this. Our future is ancient will now enter a new phase as I contemplate creating stories inspired by my epiphany when my mind seemed to meld with the quivering forest hyphae. A rush of air disturbs my thoughts and the owl flies away on the uplifting current, its short body and large wings reminding me of a giant moth as it flaps towards the lunar light. I take one last deep breath and get back into my car. I'm readying myself for my own journey, for my return to the flaming lights of the distant city.